coordination of at regional level and of the regional funding around the common priorities is especially important. So this just reflects the concept that we have been discussing this morning together. So now we move into the more, let's say, initial operational phase of how we got in contact with the Interagmat Green Growth community. We were already very much working with SwitchMed as part of, let's say, the partner organization covering all the countries of the South. It's a program actually supported by DG NEAR, but wanted in a certain way again to reach North, Balkans, and South. So we saw this opportunity actually with the Interagmat. SwitchMed was already part and mentioned in our first ministerial organization, but we were sort of missing the piece of the puzzle. So this is how Interagmat came in. This is how, the 42 Euro-Mediterranean countries decided actually that it was worth the UFM labeling. Now the UFM labeling is a sort of recognition by the 42 countries at high political level, because our highest level of representation is through the Ministries of Foreign Affairs, that are especially important in the countries of the South as element of coordination, let's say, within their own, let's say, constituencies. Indeed, the project received this labeling. What did it mean actually over time, this labeling? We will see it actually in the next slides. First of all, the Interagmat was immediately part of what we call the working group on environment and climate change. We have periodic gatherings actually of the countries and stakeholders, because the stakeholders are an active part of our working group since that. And the Interagmat started actually to contribute as we were approaching, Marcel mentioned that this morning, it was October 2019, yes. We were approaching 2020, so we were approaching the end of the first program, and we need actually to put our brains together in order to shape the next post-2020 environment agenda. Environment and green economy, as green economy is in a certain way emerging or pushed or impulsed by the environment group. This is actually another interesting point of what was commented this morning, which I'd like to point out in relation to SwitchMed. This element of, the need, of course, to involve industry was already part of SwitchMed within its elaboration around 10 years ago, to the point that an element of interest is the fact that the focal points, for example, of SwitchMed were both the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Industry to UNIDO. It was precisely with the idea of ensuring that the messages were streamlined within the countries and addressed at different levels through different competencies. So through this part, actually, we went to the second ministerial declaration that happened to be last year in Cairo. Again, a second renewed, let's say, political commitment towards green circular economy. And through that ministerial declaration, we have also the approval of the Greener Med agenda. This is the new agenda, which actually the Interagmat is contributing to. We have three main axes: one on green, circular, and socially inclusive economy, second one on more focus on pollution, and the third one, which is more around ecosystem restoration and biodiversity loss. So the concept within that is indeed that stakeholders' participation is key. Without that, at regional level, we cannot proceed, and we cannot address the green circular economy challenge if not together. Somebody this morning also mentioned, the fact that resources are a bit less. We need indeed to cooperate, and again, this convergence is around this collaboration and financing. We elaborated the theory of change, and I'm not going to go around that. This is basically Interagmat is a cooperation mechanism around projects. So what tries to do is to put together all the regional projects which are relevant for the three areas, including the one on green circular economy, and ensure that these different projects do contribute the region towards advancement and implementation of its commitment, either through the different agendas or through the SDGs themselves. So just to give you a flavor, Interreg is part and active part of a much bigger puzzle, regional puzzle, where your respective projects are reflected. So, in essence, the Green Growth Community and these projects are part of this wider regional agenda. We have been scanning among the different, donors and contributions. We made an assessment, actually, a mapping of where we are, and this is more or less, we have 82 identified projects, and there are 14 projects are part of those. And we made also an analysis of how the different Mediterranean countries are part of it. Overall, let's say that the financing that we have identified to be part of the greener map for this specific axis on green circular economy is around 300 million. So on the specific axis itself, we have 6 priority actions that the 42 countries have identified, and as you see, they more or less correspond to what we discussed this morning. So we go from sustainable consumption and production, resource efficiency, of course, innovation, business practices, but also behavior, lifestyle, and let's say consumer choices. Again, the Interreg Green Growth Community and this project were and are feeding this access and are indeed building the knowledge for the world region. I'd like actually to maybe stop one moment on this. The findings is that out of the 82 projects that we had scanned, I'm talking of the regional projects, so regional meaning projects that involve both North and South Mediterranean, or Western Balkans. We noticed that sustainable consumption and production is quite well addressed. Same happens also for business in different sectors. But the part on education, behavior, and lifestyle is, for the moment, less tackled. Well, the key priority sectors that have been addressed, at least so far, are agriculture, food chains, so food systems, and tourism. You can see also that the numbers related to your capacity building do also feed the overall Euro-Mediterranean support to the access. Also, we have 5,500 people trained, 25 participated in various events. So, in essence, this is building the critical mass of people, the critical mass of knowledge that is needed for green circular economy to advance. What we did as UFM, we as UFM throughout the process and throughout the labeling have been able actually to finance and co-finance part of the activities, organize some events, help the preparation of new projects, support the capitalization in terms of amplification of the results to the countries of the South, disseminating the information, or even, let's say, supporting the participation of the countries of the South and Mediterranean to events, regional events, that the community itself was organizing within, of course, the North and Western Balkans geographical scope. Same, of course, supporting this closer partnership between the community itself, the Green Growth Community, and SwitchMed as 2 key programs in the region. I'd like to conclude by referring to the fact that given the specialization in a certain way on food system that the Interreg Green Community focus on, we have progressively involved them into a partnership that we have as UFM with the FAO, CIAM, and PRIMA. at Mediterranean level. You know that last year we had the UN Food System Summit. That of course produced this partnership, and the InterregMed community have started to be involved as key partners. We did organize 2 webinars last year, and currently FAO is promoting all another series of capacity building activities which are currently in place. One was just recent on food and waste losses. And another one is coming next now in July on the WEF Nexus, so the water, energy, food, and ecosystem approach. So these were some concluding insights actually of this quite heavy report that we produced. So anyway, the outcomes are that these large regional initiatives are indeed creating this critical mass needed for the region to go, for the region to dialogue, but also for the region to progress towards also great circular economy. There is an increasing participation of non-EU countries, and we really welcome also the sort of decision by the Joint Secretariat to have the possibility for the Southern Mediterranean countries to be more stably also in the future projects as associated partners. We see that this is part actually of the current commitment. Of course, I mean, there will be a need to support it more, but we are also doing a similar exercise with other key programs in the region, like of course the InterregMed Next, but also PRIMA. And the idea is indeed to build more and more of this partnership. I'll conclude by just referring to 3 important events that are coming up for those that are interested in food system. First of all, we have the 3rd Mediterranean Diet World Conference in Bari. Actually, apart from the Mediterranean diet that was mentioned anyway today, there will be a focus indeed on this switch towards green circular economy. We will have a dedicated session there. There will be another important event in Cyprus. It's a ministerial conference on environment of UNECE, and it's indeed on green circular economy, education for sustainable development, and sustainable tourism. That will be between the 5th and the 7th of October. And then to conclude, there is a Mediterranean pavilion that is being organized at COP27. Now, COP27 is especially important this year because it takes place in Egypt, in the Mediterranean countries. And we as UFM have launched actually the idea, the proposal. It's now concretizing of having a Mediterranean pavilion. So that means that together with other partners, including indeed the InterregMed, but also CPC and PRIMA and many others, Albert Foundation, many, UREMA, just to mention others. I mean, we are organizing this Mediterranean pavilion, which will be indeed financed by a small group, but open to everybody. There will be around, let's say, 50 side events. So all the stakeholders and partners that are willing to contribute will have an opportunity to do so. So with this, I will close. It's probably a lot of information, but again, thank you very much to the InterregMed Green Growth community. Thank you very much also to the Joint Secretary. We had an excellent collaboration up to now, and we really hope that this can last also in the future. Just maybe a word on the fact that I stick actually to the green aspects. Of course, there is all of another process, a very dynamic one on blue economy. We see, of course, that this is progressively getting integrated and associated, especially as far as environment aspects are concerned. And of course, we hope that both can have further impulse and interaction also in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I really believe that this partnership that we have with the UFM, it's an enabler for the long-term sustainability of our community and for a lot of synergies to happen. So we are really looking forward to be at the upcoming events, especially at COP, where a lot of contributions will be happening and hopefully a lot of actions and commitments to really transform the Mediterranean. So I would like to give the floor to the next speaker, Francesco Lembo, Managing Director of ACR Plus. Hello, welcome. So he will be delving into the role of cities and regions to support a simpler economic transition.
Or at least to, so first thing is not only thank you to understand the community for inviting us. Congratulations for the work of the Europe community, because it's the first time I participated and attended to a community event. You can see really formal and informal relation and how the cooperation was really good, fruitful and effective. And maybe I think that good part of the things I wanted to introduce in to my presentation were already faced during the day with a nice discussion that I speaking out. Maybe a part of ACR Plus history can be a good input for further discussion. So very shortly about who we are. ACR Plus is born in 1994. It's a network of local and regional authorities with I would like to highlight a couple of selling strong points. So first one is that we are a thematic network. We cover waste prevention and circular economy. Second strong point is that we are really an inclusive network. So our members can be from small municipalities to region. We have a few examples here. We have all the geographical coverage. So we really cover from the Euromed area to the Northern Europe. We are here in the Eastern Europe, but we have some strong members also there. And we have now 25 years of experience. Which are our strong points? What drove our history? So first point is really about the angle and approach of local authorities. So I think this was one of the key points of the discussion between the lunchtime. Who's going to govern and facilitate discussion and thematic works on circular economy at the local level? We still believe that local authorities are public authorities, are the ones that have to represent public interest. They are the ones with that can be recognized and trusted as third parties facilitating and mediating through different interests and stakeholders. They have the democratic legitimacy and they have the right scale of action because they are or they should be in daily touch with different stakeholders and all the actors that needs to contribute to environmental policies and circular economy policies. Our work is, this is another strong point of ACR Plus. So we are not only an advocacy and lobbying network. Key part of our work is really technical. We have a strong team in the Secretariat trying to give direct support through technical publication, supporting pilot action, of course through EU-funded projects, which are still the key channel for implement pilot action and starting thematic discussion. But our approach, regardless to the specific tools, is the one of building thematic working groups, thematic families, working on solving local issues and facing local challenges. We have capacity building activities. We cover also, especially through training capacity activity and capacity building activities, also a good part of the Med to the south coast of the Med area. And of course, we have a few advocacy campaigns. We will come back on one of them because it's really good. I respected the title we gave to my intervention and we will show the points. Still, our approach and our nature. We know very well we are composed of local authorities. We know which are the key leverages and the key challenges that local authorities have to deal with circular economy policies, design and implementation. We really try to have our working approach is as concrete as possible and based on the leverages which are in hand of local authorities, and we really support them to use at their best in the most effective way. Coming briefly back to the value of having a network with municipalities and regions, we have different leverages in the hands of municipalities. Of course, when you talk of circular economy with municipalities, key and first and easiest lever of intervention are on sustainable consumption, are on raising awareness, talking with citizens all about waste collection and management, how to improve recycling, and so on. When you talk with the regional level, you can go a bit upward in waste hierarchy. You can touch somehow on production system, distribution system, on systematic support to SMEs and to industries, somehow also to labor and employment policies. When in the same network, you can have a dialogue with both cities and both regions. You can try to close the circle and really try to design, implement, test policies that touch on all different levels of intervention. So really from basic role to green public procurement, raising awareness, eco-parks, and all the subsidies and financial and fiscal system to incentivize sustainable content production. Key point, this is to sound with the title of the event, and this is also because Esurplus is born in '94, and it was a small group of regions, 4 or 5, that needed to deal with the first waste framework directive, because after the European Commission set the directive, the ball passed in the hands of local authorities. They needed to understand how to deal with those targets on recycling to be reached. This wasn't an easy challenge, but this was the starting point for regions to deal with engaging and committing environmental challenges. Now, we are not talking anymore about waste, we are not talking anymore about waste recycling. I'm touching upon this campaign because it is, and it will be next year, an even hotter topic because we will have a review of the Waste Framework Directive. And what is our point? Why we started with this campaign? The current Waste Framework Directives focuses on targets on waste prevention, on waste recycling. Whenever you talk with circular economy, with cities and regions, they are more than committed in reaching those targets, but they have a first mandatory commitment, which is about recycling. While circular economy is wider than that, circular economy has to touch about waste prevention, sustainable production, raising awareness on sustainable consumption. Let's start highlighting that the European Commission is well aware of this. This will be part of the revision of the Waste Framework Directive, but local authorities can have their part in this debate and this discussion, and we want to help them with some concrete tool coming out with a concrete message. So talking about waste prevention is not talking only about material resources, but we already have concrete tools to calculate to which extent material resource management and waste collection and waste management they contribute to CO2 emission in the cities and regions. They can contribute to material resource flows up to 30% of CO2 emissions in the cities and regions. Together with our presidency, which is the Scottish Government, we developed this carbon magic tool, and we are going with selected groups of our members. We are going with selected groups because these calculations are very time consuming and resource consuming. We are going to analyze which is the CO2 carbon footprint of material flows and of waste. And we are coming to interesting results. Right now, we started in the end of 2019. Now we have 10 cities and regions that participated in the campaign. We have interesting results. We have a clear message towards the need of targets in waste prevention. We need concrete enabling framework. We can't complain. We already have the most evolutive enabling framework in Europe, probably in the entire world about waste. But we can do more. The European Commission is aware, and if we want to circular economy is based on resource use prevention, so we need to move towards waste prevention targets, not only recycling targets. And we have, this is a clear message to go in that direction. If we want to look at how much material resources consumption contributes to the carbon footprint of cities and regions. The blue part, the dark blue part, which is the major factor contributing to the carbon footprint of materials, is not related to waste management, is not related to incineration or to landfill. It is connected with the production, distribution, and consumption of materials. And this is where we need to act. This is where we need to provide incentives, and this is where we need to network active supporting platforms to provide incentives to local authorities and to citizens, business, and other stakeholders. Last point, it will be a bit long one, but we've been called on the importance of network and support platforms. So this is a bit the nature of Acer Plus work, but this is I think, a very shared nature by all of the participants here, if you want to go together. So this is a quick map of the key stakeholders we moved along in the last few weeks. It's not completed, to be honest, this slide, but it was just to give an idea of the necessity of moving through network and connecting network with other networks. Two key points, they were in the title of my intervention, so I'm mentioning all of them, and I will conclude on the reason why I want to mention all of them. First one is the Circular Cities and Regions Initiative. This is a big initiative led by, probably the flagship initiative on circular economy led by DGRTD of the European Commission. It is, in the next 4 years, it will be around 200 million funding package through Horizon Europe calls, project development assistance to support cities and regions in developing a circular systemic solution. Acer Plus is involved in a part of this wider initiative, which is the Coordination and Support Office, which is a sort of pilot testing from DGRTD. It's probably the first time that DGRTD goes with directly supporting 10 pilots, cities and regions, and 20 fellows indirectly, with concrete technical assistance on the development, design, implementation of circular systemic solutions. So DGRTD is basically putting a network, a consortium of experts plus the other organization already participating in the Horizon Europe project dealing with circular systemic solution at the service to support a small group of pilot cities. So we will test this approach in the next 4 years. DGRTD aims at expanding this kind of approach to build a critical mass of pilot and fellow cities working and sharing the same language on the development of circular systemic solution. The selection of the candidate, the call for pilots and fellows was open until the 13th of May. Unfortunately, now it's closed. We are in the selection phase, and we will keep you updated with the next actions of this CSO, because we would really like to involve some, if not all of you, as knowledge providers to this community of pilots and fellows developing a systemic solution. Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform is another example. This is led by DG Environment. The Interreg Europe community knows it very well because it's part of the coordination group, but that's another nature of network. The European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform is a network of networks. So it has the huge challenge of dealing with all the potential topics faced by key actors dealing with circular economy development. It is a huge opportunity because it brings you not only visibility but enormous networking opportunities, but it brings with itself the challenge of needing to mediate with different voices, to give visibility to balance visibility to all of them, and focusing nice networking opportunities and making them effective for each one participating. It works through a coordination group. There's a website that has an interactive forum, an annual conference, unfortunately online for the last 3 years, and a series of thematic circular talks that are called on topics from members of the stakeholder platform. Going to my conclusion, so network and supporting platform and knowledge sharing platform, we have them, we have many of them. I won't say we have too much of them because they are never enough, but it's not knowledge or access to knowledge that is missing. This is something that we discussed with many of you even before the lunch break. What we might miss is on how to make this knowledge effective, how to make it really usable by stakeholders, and how it can enrich activities of stakeholders participating in the platform. This is really, I tried to highlight a bit different function of different networks. Some of them, they are in touch, each one has its own role and its own place. The Circular Cities and Regions Initiative is clearly placing itself in the support of the development of circular systemic solution led by cities and regions. The two logos of OECD and the European Investment Bank, they are not correct, sorry, but I was mentioning the two initiatives to support the circular cities by EIB and OECD. They don't have a proper logo, so I use the organizational logo. They are trying to clarify their positioning, so OECD is really supporting governance mechanism in cities to support circular economy policy implementation. European Investment Bank is clearly placing itself on supporting financiability and bankability of circular economy action plan and activities. The Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform is the network of networks, so it's wider on topics, it's on strategies. The Internet Green Road Community, I tried to make it here, but it's placing a bit overlapping with the level of the stakeholder platform and with a more concrete approach on supporting a different solution. A key question open, there's no answer on this, or at least my only answer, my only input is how we find which is now Asia Plus is having a very lucky positioning in 22 and in coming years because we are actively involved in the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform, in the Circular Cities and Regions Initiative. The Circular Cities and Regions Initiative is trying to find synergies and complementarity with the Circular City Center from the European Investment Bank and the OECD initiative. So the nicest part, the most interesting part is the fourth on trying to find its own role and place and complementarity and how to make a network effective. So key final input is like keep the struggle, let's keep active the struggle. You are all committed in that. Let's make it more effective as we can.
Thank you so much. That's a really good overview to really connect the dots between all the networks and really reinforce the need for partnerships. So let's jump into the next session, which is the panel discussion, which we will bring together some of the partners from the Green Growth community to give us some insights into the role of local stakeholders. So we'll go more concrete into what is the enabling transition towards circular communities. So Christina will be also moderating this session as we will introduce the speakers. So feel free to go there.
So good afternoon. Let's go for the second discussion panel, the role of local stakeholders in enabling the transition towards circular communities. And again, I'm very excited to be here with this community of, this diverse community of experts, stewards of the Green Deal, Green Policies in Action. And I'm sure the Green Growth community has been built through many individual efforts, but mainly through cooperation and sharing, as Alessandra also was mentioning. Building a more sustainable Euro-Mediterranean region is not about individuals, it's not about countries, it's not about nations. It is about building a strong community with common goals. It is about sharing, exchanging, cooperating, capitalizing resources to be able to transfer the knowledge. Also, how to make, as Francesco was saying, this knowledge useful. And the Euro-Mediterranean region has many shared challenges, opportunities, to grow greener and more circular. And I think tackling them together as a community will for sure take us farther. The added value of the green growth community is that innovative solutions are now a common ground for others facing the same problems. And we are now certain that the EU goals on climate neutrality and sustainable growth can only be achieved through cooperation and through transversal and horizontal initiatives like the green growth community. So we have here the partners of projects. Let me very quickly introduce them. We have Mr. Gaetano Zallenga, who is Managing Director of QUAIM, University Consortium for Industrial and Managerial Economics, a nonprofit entity specialized in production, dissemination, and implementation of economic and managerial knowledge. QUAIM has been in charge of the capitalization platform of the GGC, which has been a great effort, I'm sure, and he will be talking about this. We have Ms. Constantina Maruzzi, the Senior Project Manager of Dynamic Vision, consultancy company based in Athens, promoting circular economy transition, facilitating policy dialogue among stakeholders, and disseminating activities, information, and good practices on circular economy, and also other issues. We have Ms. Camila Berbic, Project Manager at CENER 21, the Center for Energy, Environment and Resources, along tracking coordinated international and European projects. CENER 21, based in Sarajevo, is a non-governmental and non-profit organization contributing to sustainable development in the East-South Europe. So thank you for being here, and I have a general questions for you. So the project representative were talking about the challenges of the projects, and I'm asking you, what are the main challenges, barriers, opportunities when it comes to engaging local stakeholders in the transition towards circular communities? And are the same challenges? Are they different? Are they similar? Mr. Zallenga.
Thank you, Christina, to this question, challenges. It's a pleasure to be here. This community, we are working together in the last 6 years, so it's a long path to arrive to this final event. For sure, we have faced in this partnership many challenges. First of all, how to build a community. This is, I think, not a secondary aspect. We have to learn on ourselves from the program objectives how to build the community. So we are a thematic community of projects. So our core are projects. We have seen this morning, and I think we will have here in the audience all our modular projects. So I think that the main challenge is to create, to build with them a system of collaboration, speaking a common language to arrive to common objectives. For sure, we started in community building from the kickoff with 17 kickoff meetings in the 6 years to understand how to start this collaboration. And then we have had this path together with the projects in giving something like an echo effect, a visibility effect of their results that are feeding our community. So I could consider the community as a living organism. We grew up with the projects. So we were born in 2016, and now we are going on. Today we have seen many results, but this is not enough, because we have seen in some examples, for example, in Aristotle Plus, we have seen that they made a good work in find a solution for giving to benefits to citizens in a healthy olive oil perspective. But this is important that this knowledge does not remain in the community, but we have to share this because we are not aware that this kind of results are in our lives. So, first of all, one of the main challenges is to build the community, and we have done in the different role. Our partnership is made of quadruple helix. So we've got academia, we've got private companies, we've got a public institution that have collaborated with us to define a common framework to reach common objective. These objectives are in continued evolution with this path. So we started the circular economy is not the same concept detailed as today. So we have started our work, and we have to manage the work in the path to arrive right now with working groups to focus to make commitments of all projects. So to make effective this partnership with the internal partner of the community, but also with the projects, we needed to have a listening and analyzing work to understand, to pass from olive oil innovation to product environmental footprint to also to green public procurement and many other issues. So this richness of knowledge is important, but we have had to manage it to give unifying message to try to be greener, to arrive to a circular economy from concrete results that could be capitalized as policy recommendation. So starting from the work of the modular project, we have had the results. We have worked with them to try to find the common and focused areas, agri-food, eco-innovation, waste management, and so on, smart community and cities. But in the end, we work also to make that all this knowledge, all these findings, was also have something like interactive repository. So we have the idea, as you mentioned, to create a platform. In this platform, you will find maybe the overall overview of our 6 years of work with an interactive map with 165 partners, with associated other stakeholders that we have met in the past, and we have started to collaborate with them. All the results, a catalog of the results, so you could have in mind who has what kind of role, what kind of results, and I think it's our work, but it's also the starting point, as before mentioned, a network of networks. So our results, the results of our community of InterrECnet program, Green Growth Community, are useful, I think, and today also we have discussed with many of you for the future. So we have had also the collaboration with the other communities of the program. This is another important perspective because we need to have a systemic approach in terms of having in mind that green, okay, but also blue, also sustainable tourism. We are not separated. We are a single part of the overall puzzle. So, working also with them, we have the opportunity to organize transnational events focused on common results, common to find synergies and working together in this direction. And that's it. I'm enthusiastic of this experience. I've learned so much. So thank you to the program, to the partners, and to all of you that are here.
Thank you very much for the insight.
So first of all, it's also my pleasure to be here among all these valuable collaborators and colleagues in the modular projects. Thanks Gaetano for giving this overview of our approach till the beginning of our project. And now your question about challenges.
The challenges.
Yes,
I have 4 questions after.
the first one. We discussed a lot about challenges today during the interactive exercise. In general, when it comes to engaging stakeholders in a collaborative approach, I think that the main challenge is that each type of stakeholder has different problems, different difficulties. And then he looks for different solutions based on their own interests and benefits. So this is something that we can easily understand. But when we talk about topics like green growth or circular economy, that are so vast topics, we need only collaborative activities and approaches. We cannot work individually and separately. So what we have to do is to explain to every type of stakeholder that they are valuable in this approach, that they have to participate and to explain to them which will be the benefits for their case. So if we highlight and if we communicate clearly their benefits, only by this, in this way, we can make them and persuade them actively participate in a collaborative approach. So I think this is the main challenge. I can give you some best practices, best examples that we have in our project, if you want, or maybe later.
Let's talk about the challenges.
Okay, then great.
We
I fully agree with Konstantina, and I think we should have in mind that different type of stakeholders have their own value-based motivation, expectations, and the end stakes that are taking in the process. I'm also grateful and happy to be with you today. We were talking a lot about it today. I mean, this is our final event, and when we kicked off this project, 2 weeks after the COVID showed up. So everything what we planned to be organized in person had to happen online, of course. And we are all very happy to be here physically. But talking from the perspective of Bosnia and Herzegovina and the Western Balkans in general, I would like to highlight that when it comes to circular economy, we are at a very early stage in this process. So for us, it's even a more big challenge than for the European member states, of course. So, and it's important to know that our policy framework is still focused on linear economy. So we are really at the beginning of this transition towards circular economy. But of course, that doesn't mean that we are not doing anything. And we have many positive examples, and one of them is also our Green Road project. What we came across as a key challenge when working in Bosnia and Herzegovina particularly Zener worked at entity level, the Federation of BIH and Republika Srpska, and we organized the stakeholder engagement workshops in Sarajevo and Banja Luka. And what we noticed as a key challenge was the involvement of private sector. As Gaetano said, we are working with quadruple helix, and we need to have involved public actors, private actors, civil society, and academia. But it was very challenging for us to bring private actors there. Either it was a physical event or online event. We were lucky enough to use the opportunity to organize the first workshop physically, and we had satisfactory number of participants, but the private sector was like 1 or 2 persons included. And we managed to bring some challenges that are related to private actors, but that was below something we aimed for. And when we had the second round of workshop online, some of them showed up. So in the end, we realized that, okay, it was easier for them to include in the event online because they didn't have to go to the venue, stay for lunch, stay for coffee breaks, and so on. Why? I think that the main reason is they lack the human capacities for development in their companies, and which means also innovation. So what they usually responded to us when we were calling them, they would say like, we don't have a person who would come to and spend 2 days or 3 days to your event. I mean, we need to work, we need to make profit. That's how companies are working. And I think from when we are looking from our perspective, that was the main challenge we faced, and we need to have that in mind. To wrap up, to conclude, background of all of that is, I think, the low level of awareness of private actors, what benefits could circular economy bring them, and of course, maybe not for all of them, but the lack of long-term planning. So they just don't see far enough, let's say. That's it from my side.
Thank you. That was precisely the question, how did you really engage with the different parts? You were already saying there, public authorities, private sector, businesses, SMEs. So I don't know if you have any successful engagement story and how different it is to deal with the different stakeholders. Yeah.
Okay, so as Nadira said before, in the Green Growth project, what we did is to develop a stakeholder engagement methodology, and then launch national, regional, local stakeholder engagement workshops initiated by each partner of the project. So this activity, I can say that it's a success story, a successful example. What we did in Dynamic Vision, I can say about the example of Greece, the stakeholder engagement workshop that we launched in Greece. Firstly, we involved in the process very actively a university with expertise on the topic. So what we understood is that in such participatory processes, universities and research centers can be, as I said before in this exercise, a neutral arena, but they can gather all the other types of stakeholders, because there is no such competition in the framework of a university. And it was important that in all forms of our workshops communication, we highlighted the participatory nature of the event, and of course our wish to bring all the types of the stakeholders together, representing the quadruple helix, because only in this way they could express their experiences and their wishes, and then we could include them to the final policy recommendations that we are going to develop. Then it was important to listen their wishes. So even if we had a set methodology to follow in order to implement the workshops, we should be flexible and adapt the specific steps of the methodology and the process based on their wishes. For example, what we did in Greece is to consult prior to the event's organization and planning the stakeholders, and we finally organized both phases of the methodology in one day event instead of 2 day events, because they told us that they prefer to show. So it was very important that we were flexible all the time to hear their wishes. And then another lesson learned was the involvement of the specific key speakers at the beginning of the event. So these key speakers attracted the stakeholders' attention. So they came to the event first to listen to these key speakers, regional and local, let's say, interesting and powerful actors. So they joined us also for this reason. And finally, the fact that we organized the workshop physically, with physical presence of the participants, was proved very successful because we all know that we are overwhelmed with all these online meetings and events. And especially in our case, that it was at a regional level, and it was not a big city, so the distances were short. The stakeholders preferred to come to participate physically and come in contact person to person with the rest of the actors and exchange. So I think these were the 4 main success stories and the lessons that we learned.
Interesting how to make this engagement with the stakeholders. And I don't know if you want to add something to this question.
I think that as described from Constantina, also for us, for SWEP, we are an academic network. The last experience in organizing this stakeholder engagement workshop, it's something very important. We have started from the Model project, so our experience is in working with our regional authority in Italy, with the Emilia-Romagna region, and we started to work very focused on agri-food because we are listening to their wishes. So they want to have engagement, to be focused, because without this focus, it would be very difficult to have the community, the territorial and the local commitment. So we have the results from PEFMA Plus project and Aristotle project. We have presented it as starting point, and we have found local engagement because we got the local cluster that was very interesting in trying to go ahead in collaborating with such results, also at a local level. Because it is in line, the local strategy, the S3, the Smart Specialization Strategy, was very in line with the results. So I think this is the main goal. We have the quadruple health roles represented that could collaborate in a focused framework to realize together, collaborating an effective, real objective of collaboration.
Very shortly, I already you already explained a bit, but why capitalization efforts key for GTC, particularly in this knowledge transfer phase, and already said, but how to make them successful? Francesco would say, just very briefly.
Yeah, one needs capitalization is a very important activity because, as I said, it's not enough to have the results. We need to communicate it. We need to make relevant for all the areas. So we need that the results is important for companies, for institutions, and for civil society, and for sure also for the academia. These results we think was needed of tools. Knowledge platform is important to have this common ground, this tool. You could have an archive of results. You could have the possibility to interactive map partners, opportunity, and so on. Also about policy, because the last step to reach results is to translate these results in to give a policy approach, to translate it in a policy recommendation. So we have tried to do this work, and this work is available. So it's an altruist approach, a collaborative approach in terms of it's online. It's a shared knowledge on which you could have another starting point and start other and continue and develop work. That's it.
Very shortly, to talk also to the.
Yes, and the commercialization, just to add to what Gaetano said, is the way that our results and the modular results will stay alive after the end of our projects. Otherwise, we will use them. So this is why we transformed basically the discussions, the fruitful discussions that we had during the stakeholder engagement workshops to these policy recommendations to help to keep the results alive.
Yeah, just shortly, I just wanted to add that considering the very early stage of Western Balkan countries in the transition to a circular economy, for us, the knowledge transfer and showing the good practices is crucial. It's very important because for so many long period we are doing business as usual. We need to see practically and in a very concrete way how it can be done more efficient, better, and better for the future in total.
Thank you very much for this intervention. I think it was very clear, very well explained. And I'd like to address now to the projects that are here with us. So Valeria Stachini from Project Madre, she could very shortly do you want to?
Madre was an organization that capacity built.
We can't hear you.
Now?
Yeah, so my question would be any engagement successful story that would serve as an example of the GDC.
Madre was a capacity building project, so a very short project because we worked together for just 1 year and a half, and it has finished in 2018. I would say that our main success was to establish a network of stakeholders because knowing each other, working together, at, not just at transnational level, but also with the local actors, this gives us the opportunity to establish stable networks. And after the end of the project, we continue to work together, and we manage also to assure financing and continue to work. The challenge we share was that of making knowledge available to cities and also to new businesses, new startups working on urban agriculture. And that was the start to try to make new training courses for cities, for elected, and also for vocational training. with this follow-up, we reached more than 100 civil servants and elected in 3 metropolitan areas, in Bologna, in Barcelona, and Marseille. And we had also the opportunity to enlarge the network of actors working, for example, with vocational training center. And now we are thinking also to further enlarge that kind of network, and possibly the next step will be to work with social housing association to bring a project linked with metropolitan agriculture to this kind of actors.
Thank you. So you already have plans of future to continue with the project. That's good to know. Thank you. We will now to listen to Mr. Tonito Solinas from Relieve Waste.
Yes, hello. So Relieve Waste was a project that concluded was a project to basically to transform animal slurry, so organic waste from farms, into a organic sand-like fertilizer, reducing the volume of waste, but also the potential to affect the water resources available on the local territory. So it's quite a complex project that puts together policymakers and companies, and the kind of stakeholders that we got in touch with were indeed stakeholders. So Gaetano mentioned the policy guidelines that some of our project developed to help them make decisions. And we also got in touch with farmers and also some categories which are often a bit kept aside. For example, women engaged and acting as entrepreneurs, local entrepreneurs as farmers. And we shared with them the results of the projects. And the third category is the civil society. But in our case, I must say that it was a special type of civil society, because during the project we developed a communication campaign also for schools, for children. We have talked about innovation, and my proposal today was also, what I mentioned was that innovation is something that it sounds very special in a way, which should not. The problem with innovation is that because it is new and it's an untapped, let's say, land, often schools don't talk about it, and even universities don't talk about it. So we started to develop a comic strip to share the information about the project also with school children, to explain to them what circular economy was, what recycling and reusing meant, and explaining the roles of farmers, policymakers, the academia within this project. So we circulated the comic strip among 1,400 schools. That was quite an interesting response. And we are now, together with the artists which actually made the comic strip, we are considering offering the chance to national institutions to include the comic strip and the information about InterregMed and other programs in school books. Now, the problem that we have, I believe, on a personal note, I must say, the problem is that we have done a lot, you have done a lot, and so little has been said about that. And honestly, because innovation takes time to be applied to the local territories, it is very strange that we don't focus our communication activity to those who will benefit from that. So children, it may sound a bit, unprofessional, let's say, to focus the discourse of innovation on children or school students, but honestly, they will be those who will take care of that. I believe that making innovation part of daily life is the key. So if we talk about it at school, in school books, passing the message that innovation is daily life, maybe things would be easier. For example, also for the purpose of engaging for long-term strategies of people. I've seen over time that this was the case with civil rights, women empowerment, racial fights over time. They became part of our educational system and part of daily discussions at school. If we do this with Interact Med and the other programs, people will be more, flexible in accepting innovation in their daily lives, also as businessmen and businesswomen.
Yeah, this is a very interesting insight. We were talking about education, so this is a pillar also, so to take note. And very, very shortly, because we're running out of time, so I'd like to introduce Rosana Garcia from Rainwaste. If you could also tell us a successful story of your project.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for inviting us, first of all. And Rainwaste project was born to reduce inorganic waste in agri-food sector. We did it through testing innovative solutions to reduce this waste, and we carried out 23 pilot tests in 3 chains in Emilia-Romagna dairy, in Andalusia for horticultural, and in France in Sud-Provençal Côte d'Azur for meat. And to name one successful story in our region, in Andalusia, we had one associated partner, Coexpal, who is an association of horticultural producers organization, and they carried out 3 pilot tests in Rainwaste projects, and one of them was about associative models to reduce waste and to manage waste more than to reduce waste. And we can say that a year and a half after the end of the Rainwaste project, a kind of seed was planted, because today we are very glad to announce that this association has already signed an agreement with an association of waste managers, and for collecting the plastic produced in the greenhouses production in Almeria, and they are planning the collection and recycling of this plastic. And also the Regional Ministry of Agriculture of Andalusia signed with this association a protocol, and together with the most important farmers associations in the region, a protocol to test a system to do traceability of waste, and it's called TracyPlast. And we wish it would be very successful. And there was also a pilot test in Rainwaste about traceability of waste. And so we believe the project has been a seed for us to have a continuity today of this kind of initiatives. So we are very happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very good to hear that all projects are continuing somehow, and I think we take the idea also the education as a fundamental pillar to incorporate in all these actions. So thank you very much for.
May I add very quickly?
Yeah, okay.
I apologize, but it's very quick, and I think just to pay tribute to the work that everybody has done. One of our one of our partners was awarded a prize, a national prize, for being the best and most inspiring company in circular economy in Italy. This prize is the result of the engagement in InterregMed and the Green Growth community, and it's an inspiration for companies. So my suggestion is, in addition to keep up with your work, also to acknowledge the value of these things for the local level. The local community connected to that company is proud of being the best, which is a great result. I believe with something that is connected to business is not only about business, but also the community. So I would like, this is my personal thank you, but also paying tribute to a program that has a tangible effect on people and not only on businesses. So thank you.
Well, thank you for the wrap up. I have to go anywhere. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so let's try to close the cycle with Heidi, seeing is part of the Green Growth Community project. She's a project manager of ERIC, and she will actually talk us a little bit more on the policy recommendations that we have produced over this period. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. So hello from my side as well. Happy to be here and to present to you some policy recommendations that the Green Growth community has produced in order to advance circular economy in European regions. I will start by giving you a bit of background to how these recommendations were actually developed. You already heard Constantina in the panel discussion mentioning the stakeholder engagement workshops that were organized in some of the Green Growth partner regions in the Mediterranean. So our partners organized a series of these engagement workshops together with quadruple helix stakeholders in their regions, and the idea was that these workshops would focus on different topics that are important to those regions related to circular economy and sustainability. So you can see here on the map the 5 workshops that have been organized so far. So they all focused on different topics related to circular economy. So you can see in Catalonia in Spain, they focused on the role of the public sector in facilitating the generation of opportunities in the transition of the agri-food sector towards sustainability. Then we have in Emilia-Romagna, that was already mentioned as well, a bit more focus on the Green Growth community and how it can be linked to the regional smart specialization strategy. So looking at potential synergies and future directions for how to make use of the outcomes and learnings from the community in their strategy. We have 2 workshops that were organized in Bosnia and Herzegovina. First one in the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, focusing on how to increase the competitiveness of agri-food products on the market. And the second one in Republika Srpska, that was focusing on organic and inorganic packaging waste in the agri-food sector. And finally, Thessaly in Greece focused on the role of greenhouses in crops restructuring in the era of climate change. And the final one that will take place in the PACA region in France will be organized in September. The methodology that was used in these workshops was a bit similar to what we did in the interactive session today. So when you have a topic, first focusing on mapping out the challenges related to that topic. So all the quadruple helix stakeholders brought the different challenges that they face in this topic to the table. And they were discussed and different solutions to these challenges were brainstormed, and these were then developed into policy recommendations. When we started looking at the challenges that the different regions had mapped out in the workshops, we could see that there were some common challenges that all regions face more or less. And we grouped these into these 5 rough categories. So you have the first one related to collaboration. So collaboration between the quadruple helix stakeholders. The second group of challenges we saw was related to funding and financing. We also have market challenges, capacity building, and governance challenges. So I will now present these challenges a bit more specifically, what different challenges we could see in the regions. The first one is really a lack of targeted funding opportunities for new businesses, and especially businesses focusing on sustainability and more circular angle. Then also limited access to finance for innovation was a very common challenge, as well as lack of incentives to support sustainable businesses in regions. And finally, also lack of public-private collaborations. The second group we saw was related to communication collaboration. Here we could see that there is a lack of dialogue between the quadruple helix stakeholders, and also a lack of shared infrastructure for collaboration for innovation. And this is, I think, something we heard already today, that it's not easy to bring all the stakeholders together, have them communicating and have them collaborating. When it comes to governance, I guess something that we are all familiar with is slow administrative processes, unfortunately, in most regions. Then in terms of capacity building, something we saw is that there is a lack of training activities and like reskilling, upskilling for the workforce in the agri-food businesses. In terms of market challenges, something we saw is that there is a lack of awareness from the civil society when it comes to agri-food products and businesses. And this is also something we heard a lot about today, that there is really not maybe the awareness we wish that there was. Then also from maybe more the businesses side is a lack of awareness of global trends affecting the agri-food sector, and this need for changing things and for the transition. Also lack of accurate statistical data and transparent information systems was recognized as a challenge, as well as something we face, I guess, in most countries in the European region today and also beyond, is that many people, especially our workforce, are moving from rural areas to urban regions, because that's where the jobs are, that's where most people, want to move right now. So as I said, then when we had these challenges, we tried to focus on solutions and how we could then solve these challenges. And out of these solutions, we developed different policy recommendations. So I will quickly present those as well. So when it comes to funding and financing, something we realized was that there should be better support for sustainable businesses through different incentives, tax reductions, and so on. So this is something the public sector really should keep in mind. Also to improve the access of local stakeholders to European territorial cooperation projects and activities. Also to increase research, innovation, and investment in rural development as a way to try to avoid having all the workforce moving from the rural areas to urban regions. This would be a good investment. When it comes to communication and collaboration, we have the creation of living ecosystems, gathering all quadruple helix stakeholders, and also to create these spaces for dialogue, so where they can come together, share ideas, and communicate. For governance, generation of competencies in the local administration. So this could be like learning and managing collaborative instruments would be very important. Also innovation policy and innovative projects in the field of sustainability. So they should address the current challenges that businesses are facing at the moment. And then finally, increase the use of information systems to strengthen the fact-based monitoring, evaluation of the agri-food policies. And finally, in terms of capacity building, to really focus on upskilling and reskilling the labor force and the different businesses, and this could be done through different professional courses, university training, vocational training, and so on. And also to support the learning and application of new and innovative business practices. And then for farmers, different capacity building activities that help them to meet the demands of the markets that there is today. In terms of how to strengthen then the markets, it's important to create infrastructures for testing, prototyping, and experimenting. Also, innovation services for local firms will be important, as well as to perform market analysis, marketing channels as well for sustainable products. This will especially help to raise awareness of sustainable products and services for consumers. And then we heard as well today that there are many different types of labels on the market. Consumers are not necessarily aware of what all of these labels mean, what they entail. So some kind of harmonization for all these labels would really help from a consumer perspective as well. And then finally, to have different types of information and awareness raising campaigns will also be important to, again, raise awareness, make consumers more informed. And I just wanted to mention quickly as well that based on these recommendations, we have developed a memorandum of understanding. During the networking cocktail that will start very shortly, we invite you all to sign this memorandum of understanding. By signing it, you are not committing yourself, your organization to anything legally, or it's just kind of a document representing a vision. So it's more of a personal commitment to help us advance and further the circular economy in Europe and beyond, so that hopefully we will have a climate neutral Europe by 2030. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. So last but not least, let's talk about opportunities for future partnerships to continue the work. We have with us Maria Robeva, Project Officer of the Interreg Program, the Secretary, to discover what's coming.
So thanks first of all for this invitation. I'm really happy to be here with you. And as I was following the work of the project since 2016, we tried to be supportive as secretariat of the program to the work of the thematic communities, to try to create synergies between projects and have the results really tangible solutions that could be further exploited. So as we were talking a lot about Interreg Med, now I will be speaking about Interreg Euromed, which is the next edition of the Interreg Med program, just officially approved yesterday by the European Commission. This is a very and so we will be speaking about something that now exists. So a bit just the program in a nutshell, very quickly. Here we have now 14 countries for 60 and 69 regions. So we have expanded the program area of with more regions and 2 more countries to join forces in the Interreg Euromed. So we have eligible, let's say, partnerships for co-financing from Portugal to Cyprus, and the new member states that were added were Republic of Macedonia and Bulgaria. But this is not the only area to which we would like to stick to. And we have all the South countries that we would like to include in all our projects. And our ambition is really to have this kind of associated partnerships created for the benefit of the whole area. Interreg Euromed aims to support the transition towards a climate neutral and resilient society. These are the key points in our new program. Here we have to ensure the sustainable growth and as well the well-being of all citizens living in the Mediterranean area. We are not alone. As we have seen, we have a lot of, partners with whom we would like to cooperate, and we cooperate even in the Interreg Med program. We started this very close cooperation with the Union for Mediterranean, with macro-regional and other strategies, sea-basin strategies that are in the area, European Commission and other Interreg and EU programs. And with all this, with all these actors, we would like to cooperate, collaborate, and coordinate, so that we have all the results that are working. And what we are aligned to in this period is the Green Deal, it's the United Nations Sustainable Goal, and the European and the Territorial Agenda 2030. Which are our missions? We have 4 interconnected missions that are complementary between them. And these are all made to reach this climate neutral and resilient society. The missions have a more comprehensive approach than, the projects working on their own. We have a sustainable and innovative economy. We have protecting, restoring, and valorizing natural and cultural heritage. And we have promoting of green living areas, and finally enhancing sustainable tourism as a cross-cutting mission. All these missions have to focus on certain actions and find manageable solutions. So the solutions in regards to the innovative, sustainable economy, they are trying to reinforce the cooperation of the quadruple helix. We heard today that it's never enough, and there are still some challenges that we have to tackle, so we have to find solution for them. To favor the competitiveness of small and medium enterprises, and that's having innovative actions and services with patterns that go towards circularity. We have sustainable production and consumption practices that we all have to adopt, and we have the improvement and implementation, coordination, and of the regional smart specialization strategies. So in this first mission, we have in general all that touches upon green and blue. Let's move to the next one, protecting and restoring and valorizing natural environment and heritage. We have heard that the impact of climate change is especially impacting. Climate change is especially impacting the Mediterranean resources because they are fragile. We intend thus to find some solutions here to promote climate change mitigation and adaptation measures, to encourage sustainable management of natural resources and restoration of degraded ecosystems. Sustainable development, management of green living areas, and an integrated vision of the territory's energy transition are crucial for this third mission. Here we would like to have projects that tackle through the development of these green living areas and work to minimize the impacts in the Mediterranean and global climate system, as well as to try to involve citizens in the green transition. Enhancing sustainable tourism, our fourth mission. This integrates the circularity in the tourism sector, the contribution to environmental and neutral tourism, and improvement of the sustainability of ecosystem services. We know that a lot has been happening with in regards to tourism and the impact of COVID on this, and we will try to work a lot on this mission and with special strategic projects that will be developed on Mediterranean level with other indirect programs, and not only. Priorities and specific objectives tackled. Here we have in the program, all these four missions are included in Smarter Mediterranean and Greener Mediterranean objectives, and they are supported by by reinforcing the Mediterranean governance. Here we have the missions and the specific objectives in which they will work. Here, all the projects will have to choose one of these specific objectives and one mission. Here we have the final better cooperation governance. And what about the types of projects? The types of projects have not changed a lot, but still might have some different names. So we have thematic projects, which are projects that I will explain a little bit later. And we have governance projects. These are the two main types that we will have. The thematic projects, they will be projects like the current modular projects, working on different modules, either studying, testing, or transferring projects. Developing analysis for on issues that were not sufficiently tackled could be the subject of the studying projects. We don't intend to finance a lot of studying projects because we have seen that now we have a lot of things that have been produced. So we would only choose those that have to do with issues that were not tackled or that are new or that are new for countries, for some of the countries that are involved in partnerships. Then most of the projects that we would like to see are of the testing and transferring type, testing pilot activities, like in the current in the RedMed program, and then transferring and cooperating on a Mediterranean level. And we have a fourth kind of project, category of project, named strategic territorial projects. These combine all the three, let's say, modules, studying, testing, and transferring, but deal with a special issue that is strategic for a certain territory. So we have all the three modules tackled. The governance project now. The governance projects are of two categories: thematic community projects, like nearly like the current horizontal projects or thematic community projects, and the institutional dialogue projects, which intend to make this collaboration, cooperation, and coordination on Mediterranean level possible on let's say thematic community level. We have a new strategy that continues our capitalization efforts and capitalization plan and strategy, but it intends as well to pave the way and to make sure that all parties that are involved in the project have this common vision and share the mindset. What is this strategy about? It has three general objectives. It regards the exploitation, sharing, and reuse of results, the transfer of these results, and the coordination between the different stakeholders acting on the Mediterranean level. Here you have a very complex picture that, in fact, is somehow explained in the results amplification strategy. So the roles are clarified for each, let's say, level of this picture, so that they are complementary one to another. What about the partnerships? The eligible partners are mentioned in the terms of reference of each call, but in general, all the types of partners are eligible for financing if they come from European countries or from countries of the pre-accession instrument, because the program funds are coming from this kind of funds, ERDF and IPA funds. But we have as well all the partners working as associated partners to these projects, helping the co-funded partners in their work. All these should be relevant to the project, tackled, and the issues that are developed in the project. Which are the differences? In fact, the bodies are of the same kind, only the co-funded partners receive funds, and they support the participation of the associated partners. Associated partners have to have to choose one of these roles, either advisory role, they can work as supporters of the activities, and end users taking on board solutions that are developed in the project, or observers to the activities. So which are the tools and which are the opportunities? On the new program website, you can check all the calls. Currently, today at 12, the first call has been closed. This referred to governance projects. But very soon there will be another call that will appear by the 23rd of June. which will refer to thematic projects, and all the 4 missions will be open for coverage. Here you will find as well a way to find partnerships and submit project ideas, and benefit as well from the Interreg Euromat Academy that has been presented today in the morning, which works as a community of practice, and which we intend to give a very special role as well in the 21-27 period with the Euromed program, and involve as well all the thematic projects in developing a kind of material for this Interreg Euromed Academy. The course I just mentioned, the first one that was closed today. We intend to have the results during the summer break, so that the project can start in October. The official start date is the 1st of November, but if the committees approve the project beforehand, they will be ready to start even in October. Then we have this call for thematic projects that will be launched officially on the 23rd of June in Cyprus, and which will be as well streamlined. So in case you would not be able to participate, you can have it as well online. And with this call, we will open the floor for projects in 4 missions on studying, testing, and transferring. So I will invite you with these last words to our launching event in Cyprus, and I wish success in the implementation. First in the submission and then in the implementation of projects in our program. Thanks. Okay, thank you so much. Of course, yeah.
May I just ask a quick question? I couldn't but notice that there was hospital and medical centers are written on the bottom line there. In the list of potential partners. And I was wondering, I mean, this is all about circular economy and green in general. So you don't expect to receive any kind of project connected to healthcare, is that right? There's nothing, it's about the management of that, or?
It's not forbidden.
It's not forbidden. Okay.
It's not forbidden. Then in the terms of reference, you will find solutions, let's say, that we look for. So in each mission, you will have a separate terms of reference.
Yes,
and then you will find what we are exactly looking for in this mission. So in case there is a healthcare medical unit, for example, that is interested in one project that deals with issues that for which we are looking for a solution, then it's an eligible partner.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
Yes.
Oh, thank you for the presentation. I was wondering if you already know how many, when it's going to close the call for thematic projects. Is it going to be open the 23rd
Yes.
of June? summertime.
Yes, 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 it will be open on the 23rd. Then, normally, it's a matter of, let's say, still of defining the final date, so I cannot officially tell you the final date, because it's a matter of monitoring committee decision. But it will be more than September, so it will last, let's say, either by mid-October or end of October. So it will, we take in note that the summer months are not fully operational for everybody, and half of them are in holidays, so yes, no worries about this. It will not be only for the summer. But still, the final date will be defined in a monitoring committee by mid June. So just before the 23rd, the terms of reference that are approved by the task force and by the monitoring committee will appear on the website, and you will find all the information in regards to the final dates.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you for the presentation. As I understand, the modules will be single. There is no interconnection between testing, transferring, like in the past program, right?
Right. In this call, in the first thematic call, the modules will be single modules. Yes.
Okay. So then there will be another call for the strategic
territorial projects, and there we have the 3 modules, but these strategic territorial projects will be working on strategic issues for certain territories. For example,
only for
yes, for example, issues that are of a priority for insular areas. Just to give an example. So they will be, they are expected to be open in 2023.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I thank you so much for the presentation. An estimation of the budget over this call?
Yes, I will tell you all the news today. So you will not be joining on the 23rd. But it's, for the 4 missions, it's 86 million. For mission 1, if this interests you, it's 27 million approximately. Then it refers to about 44 projects in total for the 4 missions. But this you will know more in Cyprus, so I will not tell you all the secrets today. Do you have any other questions? Or I cut them? Yes, please.
When you refer territorial projects, you've given the example of insular territories, but I mean territorial would not mean just one region. I understand it should be wider, no?
One region cannot be just tackled by transnational cooperation program. So yes, it refers to the type. When I say insular areas in the Mediterranean area, okay. So it refers always cooperation of more countries, and the number of countries, let's say, in each call could be different. I'm not telling you for the first call because, but it's more than 4. Okay.
Okay.
But don't keep this number because it could change with the decision of the monitoring committee. So these are not the things that are not still decided. I cannot officially communicate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other project?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I see there's a lot of interest here, so. So good luck to everyone that is applying for the upcoming goals. Thank you so much for your contributions and for being with all of us today. I think it's been a great day, and we have now the booth, the networking time for us to really keep going with the conversations. And before we wrap up, I just want to highlight again the academy. This is something that we have been working a lot on. It's being launched on the 10th of June. So actually we've been working on the Achieving Green Living Areas model. So you will get a sense more on the projects and also to get ready for the next EuroMed program, because actually it's already kind of delving into these thematics. And yeah, to emphasize as well what Heidi mentioned about the MOU, which is just we need your signature to keep working and have your support behind us to address the policies and so on. So if you have any other questions, great. So thank you. Yeah, thank you.